Thanks for coming out. I'm so excited. I have a lot of questions. So for people looking at us, you're here on episode 3, Planeta Patineta, which is Spanish for Skate Planet. Thanks for joining us. And our great guests today, we have Juan Chavez and Mike Perz, 2 Chicago local skaters. Not for my times, but still skating in these times. I guess I don't want to introduce y'all because I feel like I don't know y'all enough to give you a proper introduction. So I want you to kind of give us a little bit brief introduction of yourselves and who you are in present moment in like your skate lives.
Okay, I'm Juan Chavez. Been skating for a very long time. I'm also an artist, and this artist, family, and skateboarding. That's how my life goes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
So I'm Michael Perz, and I've been sort of involved in the Chicago skate scene casually for quite a while, and now my life is home ownership, family, and skateboarding, and it's been going great the last couple of years.
Nice.
Keeping it complex.
Yeah, right. Busy lives. So I reached out to y'all because I wanted y'all to come out to the show and talk about this project of yours. I was talking to y'all earlier. What is it called exactly? Is it called the 35th DIY, the Marshfield DIY, what is the official name of the DIY?
It doesn't have an official name.
Marshfield Courts?
It's I think colloquially it's known as the Courts.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Marshfield Courts is another name that seems to be sticking, but we never officially.
Yeah.
There's no official name, but I am making stickers that
What
say
is-
35th DIY.
35th DIY. That's the Instagram page too, right?
I don't know. Is there an Instagram page?
I've seen an
Is that
Instagram
supposed to be one?
Who started that?
Oh, good question.
I thought
We don't
that
know.
was you.
We don't know.
No way.
Yeah.
I've seen that Instagram page around.
No,
Who knows who runs it?
It's not official.
It's
Yeah.
none of your crew members that started that?
Nobody.
That's so weird. And it's
somebody
it's like
may have met at
private.
one point, but we don't know who did it.
We don't know.
So, yeah.
They're also private, so that's weird.
Yeah.
Yes,
Strange.
it is weird.
Yes, pretty strange.
We'll find out. Thanks for letting us know.
Anybody listening, if you all know, if you started that page, we want to know who you are. So tell us about how the DIY started, because I know when I was in undergrad, I was following you on social media and I saw like the opening of the event for the space, but I think when you opened the space, it didn't register to me that it was like a skate like space. At least maybe I just didn't look into it too much. But how has the space changed from its beginnings, and like what were both of your goals for the space?
Okay, well I can shine a little bit of background on the spot. I was approached by Vice and PVR because they wanted to highlight artists across the country who were doing some community involvement projects, right, and beautification projects. So when they went to LA, they went to San Francisco, they went to New York, Philly, and Detroit and Chicago, right? So when it came to me, I said, no, I would love to do it, but I don't. There's no project that I want to do. That means no project that I have this, sort of right now that sort of fits within the criteria. I said the only thing there is this abandoned basketball court. I can clean it up, and I can, as a community effort, and then we can throw an event. And through this event, we can invite multiple communities to come together. The McKinley Park community, that's composed of concerned neighbors and blah blah blah, and parents and kids, and clean the whole thing up. At the same time that I wanted to do this is an empty spot, empty concrete slab. Let's do some skate thing on here. So throughout the process of getting this event going, there was some limitations on what we could build for skateboarding. So I only built 2 benches. They were kind of tall, but there were marble benches on top, and that was really it at the beginning. But then sort of like organically things started coming into place. Like first the benches, and then next thing you know there was a rail. Someone brought in a rail, and that's really how it started. Until one day, Mike and I walked by and we saw someone pour crappy ass quarter pipe, and we're like, "What the fuck is this?"
It was the start of something, and it was at the very beginning of the pandemic. I think a lot of these projects started when people had cabin fever and decided let's do something. So Juan and I, we met up there, and then we linked up with more people. There is kind of a core crew. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to. Oh, shit! I'll give shout outs to everybody later.
I was going to say.
You want to?
I don't want anybody to feel like they're any
crew.
less important than anybody else.
The original crew.
Yeah, because we got a whole crew now.
Yeah, you have a big crew.
It's a good sized crew, but it started out as about 4 people.
Yeah,
and,
it was Aaron,
Alex.
Was that it?
Yeah, and that was the original core group, and we kind of started talking and just being like, well, you know what? There's nothing around us that's just like immediately available to skate. It's kind of no man's land.
Yeah, it's either you go to like Little Village or
and that's very difficult to get to unless you're driving.
Right.
Try to ride your bike there or walk there. It's like come from McKinley Park to Little Village takes time and energy. So we just thought, this is this derelict lot that's sat for so long, and maybe we could just become custodians of it, and beautify it. We kind of want. I think the overarching goal is to make it a skate spot / community space. And I'm a big believer in public space and publicly accessible space, because if you think about it, you leave your house every day. What is immediately available to you that's technically public? The street, sidewalk, everything else is kind of off limits, unless you go to one of the bigger parks. And so this idea of having these like smaller spaces scattered throughout, a community, I think helps like shore up the foundation of that community, because people interact with one another. You're more likely to go and meet somebody new, and like if you go through there, whether it's to skate or to like sit down and read a book or to do whatever, we see a lot of like families with kids coming through there. It's just this sort of multi-use space, so it's evolved with a lot of various people's input,
and it will continue to grow. I mean, that's the nice thing about it. It came up as an organic venture, which is kind of nice, and there's a few spots that you can go and skate in the city. There's like I grew up coming downtown to skate. Like there were no parks. Me and downtown Chicago and all the spots everybody knows, those are my spots forever, right?
Yeah. And what time was that in?
The 90s.
The 90s, yes.
Yeah. I kind of, along with Mike was around that time too. Downtown we ruled at night till the morning, and we skated every spot and got chased by every cop, but it were different times.
Yeah.
Like now I don't come downtown that often. Maybe my niece can't take it anymore, but but I don't come down. So I needed also a spot that's nearby that I can roll around. And going to Burnham, which I still like to go. I think that's one of the parks that have the best flow in the city. Like you can move around that thing so easily because it's designed that way. So when we started doing this one, the vision has been not to make it like other DIYs, not to make it with super like crazy transitions, to keep it more street, because it's important to keep it kind of street, right? There's goals, I want to be able to, and we talked about this, and to bring back a section of the fire hole. This
old legendary.
I don't know if you ever heard about the fire hole. But
tell me.
Yeah.
Oh, fire hole is a series of bumps. There was I don't know how many, but there were brick bumps on Laramie and Armitage.
Okay.
And you had to pump hard to get speed on that, but if you got going, you got going good. And it was like amazing if you make it all the way around it. You know, unfortunately, that doesn't exist anymore, but it still exists in the memories. And it would be nice to have at least 1 or 2 bumps.
Yeah.
You know, like things like that. They're like, you know, they were not built for skateboarding, but you know, to bring them back is kind of nice. So yeah. I mean, that's been the kind of the focus on it, just to make it a fun place.
Yeah, that's amazing. And last time I went to go visit y'all, there's a lot of community members walking by, and so to me, it seemed like they were really supportive of the space. How has the community accepted you all as like not newcomers, but like sort of experimenting with this public space? Have they been supportive? Have you had like people giving you like some hate, or you know, have you come across any problems?
Well, let's start with the hate.
We don't have to talk about the hate if you don't want to.
Well, the hate's been minimal. The hate's been minimal. You have to understand that that park that, you know, used to be a basketball court, and it was abandoned for 30 years or so, right? So, you know,
30 years, it was just a...
Yeah.
I kind of thought it was like a house maybe.
No, so no, it was an old basketball court. And so at first when we started going in there, I mean, I remember cleaning up the place, right? You know, with my friend Armani and my Stu and Dimas, right? We were out there like cutting the weeds off between the cracks, and you know, and the neighbor just like blasting rancheras, man, like, whew, and narco corridos. I was like blasting them, right? So that was the initial like hate came from that. It was like music terrorism.
Okay. Like subtle hate.
Yeah, like, no, that wasn't subtle. That was
but
like...
it was like non-confrontational, right?
Oh, it was very confrontational. Just like he'll put the speakers right out onto the back porch.
Oh, like that.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
Not even like jamming out in their house. It was
like blasting it, right? So, and it happened all the time until, you know, one day when we were at the event, they were out there in the front porch, and I took a case of beer and a big platter of sandwiches, and I said, "Here you go. Thank you for like being chill." And after that, he chilled. So the confrontation's been like, you know, on and off, and the hate hasn't been really too serious.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like when you start something new, there's like there's a little bit of resistance, but you know, that resistance sort of like easily was managed, but like good intentions. You know, like telling people, "Hey, here we're here to clean it up. You know, we're here to take care of this place. We're here, you know, to make it better." And the other neighbors were like super supportive, completely the opposite. You know, like we couldn't build it without the neighbors' help. You know, it's like water and electricity has been godsend. We talk to them all the time. They know us well. For Father's Day, we gave them a gift. We got them a card and give them some cash and say thank you for all the support, you know, you've given us. And
they're wonderful people.
Yeah.
We've had the thing to note that I, you know, I'm not really pointing fingers at any department specifically, but Chicago seems like unresponsive to like community needs a lot of times.
And very much on the south side too.
And yeah, very much on the south side. So I think that we've gotten a lot of positive response because it's just a all volunteer effort, and the singular goal is to just take something and just make it better for everybody, you know. And then historically, you know, we were talking about coming up in the 90s. People don't realize this, but Chicago has been notoriously hostile to skateboarding compared to a lot of other cities.
Yes.
And it still is for some reason. When we got...
You really think so now?
I think so. Like when I went to Mexico City, a lot more skate parks, like really good. Like the government is really supportive of skaters. That's what I got. So when I came back here, it wasn't like But
you look at like the parks that we got, and you know, like I said, I'm not, because we're working to improve the situation. But it's kind of miserable when you look at like the condition that 31st Street is in, and just in what that park was to begin with, was a sort of spearhead for kind of city-sponsored gentrification. we were told the whole story about how like the skaters that were involved in that design, they were told, yeah, you guys are, this is, I think, paraphrasing the story from someone who I won't mention by name, but they go, you're like the Marines, we're sending you in first. Because it was like, at that time, 31st Street, it was a beautiful park, and a lot of people enjoy. I loved going down there at the time when it
You were at the opening, right?
Yeah.
What year was that opening?
That was 2000, I think.
Was that
if I recall, yeah.
I remember you have a story,
2000
right?
or two-
Sorry to sidebar,
I
but
fell on my face.
there's a picture of
There's
you.
a photo of me that still pops up from time to time from that day.
I was in the design stages of that. It was designed by skaters, but not built by skaters.
Yeah, it
And
was
that's- and-
conceived by skaters.
Right.
The design and the execution were somebody that had no.
When that park came around in terms of design, it's like, a friend of skateboarding's, Nathan, who works for the city, put it out there for us and said like, hey, you guys need to create a team. They're gonna build a skate park. You guys should design the skate park. And put us in contact with the people at the park district that were gonna design it. So we ended up, putting, sort of like the conversation together of what the park should look like. And at first it was like a model out of like modeling clay, and like it was like to show all the design, all the
features,
the features that we wanted to have on there. So it was like at that point we were all hyped that we get in a concrete park in the city because there was nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing. We had to drive to Rockford, or we had to drive to Deerfield.
So
or
Burnham
Lennox.
was built first,
Yeah.
and then Wilson.
Yeah.
Burnham was the first
outdoor concrete park in the city of
concrete park.
Chicago.
So.
Yeah.
On these meetings at that park, with the construction company, they were complete assholes to us.
Really?
They didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
They don't wanna hear it.
It's the fact that park exists and that group of people made that happen is nothing short of miraculous when you look back at it. And just the fact that it exists, and because what happened was the skaters pushed for that design, and then once the basic idea was in the city's hands, they wanted nothing more to do with the skaters. There was no more input. There was the way that it was being poured, the construction methods. There's the control joints that like your wheels sink into.
So expansion zones.
Yeah, the surface was finished with brooms, the way they do sidewalks. So you fall on it, it's like sandpaper.
Transitional sidewalks.
Yeah.
It was very much a city being unresponsive to the very people it's supposed to serve.
Right.
And I think that it's a culture in Chicago it's part of an old political culture. I think that's sort of dying out right now. And there's a lot more younger people that are actually interested in making cities be great places to live that actually respond to its constituents' needs. So that's where we're at and how we got here, and there's still a lot of work to do. And, my vision is that this is just a part of that work.
Yeah.
And how was the design process like? Because I have no experience in like
The design
thinking
process for
skate parks. Period.
For
Like,
35th Street or
no, like for Burnham, or like how do those?
Well, Burnham is built by a skateboard company. So not Burnham, Wilson. Burnham is built by some guy that some company that they didn't want to listen to skaters to talk about concrete and how they should be poured, right? They wanted to do their own thing. At the end, Will adapted, and Burnham still a lot of fun, right? People complain on it all the time. You complain about it. But it was like it's like anything else. That bowl in there, that was the first bowl, the first kidney bowl, and that thing is awful. But once you get it, it's so much fun to ride.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I still rather go there than go to Wilson. The way that it's built, it's like you're skating transitional sidewalks.
You're skating something that's very Chicago.
Right, and
it's very unique.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And it's falling apart now. But if you get going on that park, it's like no stopping you. There's like endless lines, and all those lines have one thing in common. There's like transition from one corner to another. I can go into 5 lines, just coming in the top of the stairs,
Mm-hmm.
If you roll in, you can hit the whole park, and that's the way it was designed to be, right? So that design was cool, but now Wilson, that was built by a skateboard company that builds parks, and Grand Park too.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see like the big difference in them.
Did they ask for skater inputs? Do you know?
I don't think you need to
to a certain point.
To a certain point, I don't think you need to as much anymore because skate park companies are owned by skaters, or staffed by skaters. So it's like they don't need to consult with us anymore.
Yeah,
right.
so,
be nice.
So the new parks that are being built are very professionally executed from the beginning, from the conception stages all the way to the grand.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't always the case,
Right.
and it seems that it's kind of still isn't the case. A lot of the newer parks that I've seen pop up in Chicago, like I love skating all these parks, but Little Village, the original Little Village, which is a little further west, LV1.
That one's fun.
I like that one.
They're all super fun, but they weren't very, when you look at them from a slight distance, you're like, yeah, this wasn't really done with skater input.
Yeah.
Or not a whole lot.
Yeah.
LV2 I don't mess with.
Why?
It's just I don't jive with it.
What about it? What is it?
I mean, it's just personal. It's like, nothing's wrong with the park. It's just me. It's like
it's not you.
It's like it's whatever.
Yeah.
We all like
preference.
Preference.
Yeah.
It feels like it's kind of hard to skate going the opposite direction.
Oh, okay. So are you goofy or regular?
I'm regular, but that has nothing to do with it.
What if it does? What if it's like a park built just for goofies?
No, it has nothing to do with it because it feels like it goes down.
Well, because it does.
It's on an incline.
Because it's built like on a mound. Yeah.
Right.
So maybe that's true.
So I'm like, it's counterintuitive to me. Like,
you have to go uphill in one direction.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I kind of get weirded out by that. It's like the first Deerfield part.
It was also uphill.
Oh yeah, that was counterintuitive too. Anyways,
so I did want to ask, like, from the skills or like the knowledge that you gained based on skate park builds, did you apply that to your own ideas for the 35th DIY?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know anything about pouring concrete. We knew a little bit, but. Has some knowledge, but the 35th Street has been kind of like learn as we go, but with in mind that like, oh, that's going to be so much fun, right? But there's no like sit down sessions where we're like, this is what it's all going to look like. It's kind of like we know what we want in it, and we're like, this is the spot.
The best way that I think I could describe it is it's an exquisite corpse. And if you're familiar with what that is, for anybody listening that isn't, it's a sort of a design exercise where you sit down with a group of people and you take a big sheet of paper. The first person draws an image on one part and they cover up that image. And then with just the lines at the very ends exposed, and then the next person has to draw their own interpretation of what those lines begin. And it's kind of been that way. Somebody will come up with, well, let's do a little bank to curb, and it'll be like a 6-foot section. And that got added onto, and then it's like it's being executed very freehand in real time. And as we do that, as that process progresses, the execution gets better. And we've had Aaron and Alex, Juan and I, and
Zach.
All the mics, Zach.
All the mics.
How many mics?
About 3 mics.
Okay.
The 3 or 4.
I only know you.
Yeah. This other mics. This is Mike.
And then
there's Chicago Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chicago.
And Shane came on board.
Yeah.
Somehow I have no idea. I don't know if anybody knows. He showed up one day and brought magical skills.
Shane showed up one day. He's just hit me up. It's like, you guys want some help?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Okay.
Now he like
Wow.
takes over a whole obstacle, like a whole project. Yeah, really
And-
dedicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does for a living.
Nice.
You know,
Yeah.
so it was like, hey guys, you guys want a hand? I'm like,
Yeah.
of course. And when he showed up, I was like, word.
Yeah.
No, like
So
I
it's
was, I remember telling everybody, it's like, pay attention,
Yeah,
pay attention, because
yeah,
he might
yeah.
not come back.
Yeah.
This is
But
awesome.
It's just as the project started gaining momentum, which it really finally did this year. 'Cause
Right.
This is the third year that we're working on it. It like really started to improve, and that's the cool thing about DIYs is that they're very, I'm hoping this lasts for a long time, but by nature they can tend to be very temporary. But as
Right.
part of that, we can always break out and rebuild something that we don't like, or something that could be that we did maybe one way and then we learned additional skills that we can apply to it and be like, well, let's rebuild it a better way.
Yeah, and y'all did that for the snake, right? What is it called? Like the spine?
Yeah. that
What was the problem with the original design?
Nothing.
So then why?
It was
So then
built
why-
by me.
What happened?
It was too tight.
Oh, okay.
It was too
okay.
tight and hard to skate. I mean, I like things that are hard to skate, but
It was a little too.
it was
Frosted.
it was really great for Wallies,
Yeah.
and that was really nice to it. Like you can just fly and Wally off of it, like super nice. But it was hard to skate. The whole goal of that snake has been that you have this weird rail that you can grind or slide, like
Yeah.
like in an
Curve
S shape.
around.
That's right.
And because it takes a special skill to do that,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun when you do. It always gives you a smile on your face when you're able to S slide something.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember I showed up and I was trying to skate the pyramid, and you came up to me. You were like, "It wasn't supposed to be this steep. It just
No.
kind of like
It
this
wasn't.
is how it showed up. Like it's just how it came out."
Yeah,
That was
it
so
came
funny.
out. Yeah, I ollied it
Yeah.
once, and I landed on the flat. I'm like, "Wait, we did something wrong."
I like it though. It's
But that's-
skateable once you get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like that's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
And
Right.
moving on as we progress, those mistakes won't be made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's turned into something really cool, and it's gonna continue to be something really cool, right? Because of the nature of it. I mean, we're pulling not only knowledge, we're also pulling connections into it. Like people come are getting to know it a little bit more. People ask me about it all the time. It's like when I'm like saying what's up to folks in other cities, they're like, "Hey, we heard about the DIY. It looks sick. Like, what's going on?" And it's like I start telling them about it. They get really excited. It's like, "Oh shit, I want to come down and check it out." Every time that people come down, it's just been like, "Whoa, this is happening here. Like, this is cool." Because, my buddy Dave, and Larry, they come down from Uprise, quite a bit, and every time it's just like they bring some new folks, and like connections with other folks. Like they brought over these dudes from Detroit. They also build their own DIY, so they came by. They were like, "This is fucking sick." Right?
Yeah.
Like, like giving us pointers on what we should do, like, giving us like, some tips, or giving me tips of how we should approach it, because, in Detroit, they did the same thing that we're doing, is took over like a vacant like slab of concrete, and they started building on it. And then now the city is like, "Hey, you guys built on it, like, you guys take care of it." Right? So there's a lot of similarities to other things that are happening. That's really cool. And it's nice that it's like in conjunction with, like, in between the Pilsen DIY and the 39th and normal DIY, right? But those two,
Is that the spot by Pershing?
yeah,
Yeah.
Those are three different skate spots, like completely different. Like Pilsen DIY is like transition haven, right? Like you go there and this is going to be transition.
Yeah.
And it's not easy transition to skate. It's difficult.
No.
Right?
Yeah. It's pretty.
And then like you go to that thing on normal and 39th, and that thing is insane. I don't know if you ever
That thing's real crusty.
Yeah.
I was scared.
It's scared, but it's awesome. If you get in there and you pull something,
Yeah.
it is like the most challenging, the most the best experience you can have with that spot. But it's like, oh, it's gonna call out, some major skate gods to come help you out on this one.
I've seen some videos of people shredding that thing. And I'm like, wow.
So, but and then in between there's this thing on 35th there's neither this or this, right? It's completely different. It's like banks. It's like weird pyramid.
Lots of curves.
Lots of curves. Wall rides. Hopefully some roll-ins. Now a snake spine. Like, what's next? I don't know. But like I said at the beginning, it's like it would be nice to keep it just street, because it would be so much different than anything else that you're out there skating, right?
Yeah. So what I got from when I went to go visit y'all was there was a good sense of community. There's a lot of community building. Like, I remember there was like building going on, and then towards the end, people were just having a good time. Your dog came out, your wife was there, and the neighbors were like visiting. It was a good time. So I felt really welcomed, and I think that's, like, me from like an outside perspective, I think that's also why it's thriving, because people get along and everybody's really accepting of each other and really supportive. Yeah.
I mean, it's become that. I mean, this, I think it comes with the territory. McKinley Park sort of, like, when I moved there, it seemed like people, wanted to do that there. Like, the ones taking the initiative, though. Like, there was like this
a lot of older people.
Older people, and but if you take an abandoned space, you start making it your own, start cleaning it up, it really changes things, right? It changes the approach. And then I started like this summer, I started bringing inviting artists to come down. So my friend Glenn Goldberg from New York came out and did some cardboard cutouts, some plywood cutouts and paintings, right? My friend Emmett Kerrigan also showed up. There's other artists that I invited that say yes, but it's like we haven't been able to get to it. Probably we'll get to it in the springtime. To be able to create more of like an art space as well than just a skate park, and expand more on the community efforts on it. So it's one of the things that I love skateboarding for, and it is kind of a drawback sometimes, is the personalities that the skateboarding attracts.
It is certainly a drawback sometimes.
Yeah, I was like, okay, go on.
But it's a manageable one.
It's a manageable one. Meaning like, there's like, we're in constant like friction between like a community space and making it last longer, right? And having more permanence to it. But because of the nature of us, right? We don't like to follow rules. Right, that's one of the reasons why we got into skateboarding, right? Because we didn't want to fit in anything else. We're like,
we want to follow the rules, and we have very little patience.
Right. So people do stupid things, and you have to constantly check people, right? Because of that, they're like, hey, no, we cannot do this. We love this. Remember?
Yeah.
We want this to stick around.
We want this to be, a long-lasting effect. So, I mean, that's even from the beginning, we had some issues at the beginning with what do we call it? The bicycle shop?
Oh yeah, the guys across the street.
Because they
oh, I've seen that space,
thing.
It's a bicycle shop?
Yes, let's call it that.
Yeah.
Let's just call it.
I passed by and there's like a gallery space. Are you talking about that?
Oh yeah. It used to be that.
And it was like a gallery space / bike shop. Yeah. Okay. Right?
Well, we call it the bicycle shop.
Okay.
It's the worst bicycle shop in the city.
What is it?
Because they don't even sell bikes.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got that.
No. It's been a joke between us. I just don't want to name them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just call it bicycle
Okay,
shop.
let's call it the bicycle shop.
The bicycle shop. So the bicycle shop started like using images of the DIY, the stuff we built. And claim that they did it.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so like things like that, like that's what I mean, like we constantly have to check people. Like because it's a community event. It's community space.
So we have to check this person who made the IG. Who the hell is this person?
Well, it's not, the thing is that it's not, we just, nobody can claim it to like benefit for themselves, because it's not really any single person.
No, it's a community effort.
It's a community effort.
All the money for concrete is coming from us.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
all
like,
the labor is coming from us.
Yeah.
It's not like someone is giving us money, or we're looking for money so we can,
profit off of it.
No, it's just like they barely is paying for concrete.
Right.
And rebar, right? And maybe a few burgers and beers, right? And that's pretty much it. There's nothing else being spent on it. No one's lining their pockets with it, right? So yeah, it kind of just like it sucks when people start doing that stuff. So we've been, in like in other instances, we also have like people go in there like they'll pull in a couch from the alley and start skating it, and I'm like, all right, now, like we're past that. That's only for a skate jam. You put it back on the street. Like so like things like that, like also try to make it safe. There were some things in there that people were skating. They were like terrifying. They were like a nightmare to look at.
Yeah,
like
so because what it is we've got to make it like just things that are hazardous. We got to kind of keep an eye on, like loose construction materials and things like that, because there's families with kids that come in and use the space, and we don't want any kid like
right
hurting themselves in something that's not
right, like that
shouldn't
like
be there in the first place.
Stainless steel table that was like banked out,
screws sticking out of it. Stuff.
Oh yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Wobbly. And they were like, wow, this thing is super fun. I'm like,
it's that sense of like responsibility that we have for the space, because it's something that we're overseeing. It's a ton of time and labor and good amount of money that was put into it, and you just want to see it be the best that it can be, and it's not going to make everybody happy, but you want to make enough people happy, like as many people as you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you keep it clean, keep it safe, then it's like it's more family. It's like the neighborhood sort of respects it more.
Yeah,
and pays attention to it more, right? And they'll watch out for it. Like they all know who we are, the neighbors, right?
Right, and I feel like y'all are showing up pretty respectfully, and it shows from what like y'all are talking about right now. Like you care about the space, and you care about it being safe, and you want more permanency in that space.
Right. I mean, I just recruited a new member, and it's my daughter's friend. He's trying to skate, so he showed up, and I was like, I had a pair of Vans that I couldn't wear, and he goes, I'm like, here, dude, I'm gonna give you this pair of Vans, and he was like super stoked about it. Like, really, I'll pay you for them, and I'm like, no, like like. You can pay me by coming into on Sunday and helping out. Coming in and learning how to skate, and just like this spot's for you. Like as much as it's for me as for you. So you can come and hang out. So you don't have to like go anywhere else and like do some other stuff or get caught up on some other stuff, right? This is a positive location. It's a positive thing. Skateboarding is, like you can say, is save a bunch of people's like. From getting pulled into stupid stuff, right? Because it's like you're in a world apart, and like no one messes with you when you're on a skateboard, right? No one, like, you can be yourself. That's how skateboarding was for me. Like you can just disappear from the rest of the world. You kind of just like, and then you find friends. Sort of like they have the same sort of value system. It kind of just turns the city into a landscape. It's kind of nice, right? And so the new recruit has been showing up, and he's there on the daily basis. He goes there from his house. He lives on 37th and I think Wood, and he shows up to the skate spot on the daily basis, and he just hangs out.
Nice. Yeah.
He cleans up whenever something's off of that. And he showed up last Sunday, which was the most boring day to be there, right? He was there to the end, like cleaning up.
Yeah. So. Before I ask you about each of yours individual skate stories and how you started skating, I did want to ask about how are responsibilities distributed when during work days, because I remember I showed up and I didn't really know what to do. Nobody told me what to do, so I just started cleaning.
Yeah.
Pero at the end, I could tell that people were hanging out, eating some burgers. I didn't really know what to do, but I wanted to help. And then I saw Shane doing all the work, so I felt kind of bad.
I feel bad too.
Yeah.
Well, that's that day. I think when you were there, the following week, I was given a title, right? They said I was a fascist.
Oh yes, you told me about this.
That I was a fascist. And they said I wouldn't be a fascist if you're not sitting around smoking weed and doing nothing, right? You need a purpose.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to. It's all good, it's all good if you want to come out and support. There's tons of activities. What the problem is that, we need to start either tackling bigger projects so everybody's involved, right? Or scaling down the crew for certain projects.
And we're also the other thing that's interesting that's happening is we're starting to use up available room. So now, at the point that we're at, it's going to make sense to actually start planning more stuff in advance because we have less to work with. Increasingly, as features get built, all of a sudden, we were working with 1,200 square feet, and now we're down to 400. Maybe we need to call it a day.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
other
going to be it.
Right.
But as far as like the division of labor goes on those Sundays, it's very anarchic, which is kind of awesome because it's still something still emerges from that anarchy and chaos that's going on every day. And it is, everybody brings different skill sets to the table.
Yeah.
So it's like even people that are just there, obviously, people that are there to hang out and observe.
They're also there to help. And
they're there to help, but it's throughout the day over the course of a Sunday. Some people will show up, other people will peel off, and it's just this thing that just happens and churns, and all of a sudden at the end of the day, there's something new.
Yeah. So hopefully, in the springtime, we'll be able to throw down. Like Mike said, it's like a lot more planning on it, and I would like to do more structure in terms of how many people should show up. Like if we say like we're gonna pour this thing, we need not all hands on deck.
Yeah.
We need 10 hands on deck
to get it done.
Right. The nice thing is like it's also like other things are happening. Like this grilling practice is happening now. Like I brought a grill there, so like that grill is manned now by Patrick.
Yeah.
That grill has its own story, right? Like you picked it. Like
I picked it off the alley.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
So why is some of that gonna go away?
Yeah.
It's gonna,
It's
we're
nice
gonna
grill.
utilize it, and we cleaned it, and I cleaned it, and and we use it regularly now. Because Patrick, I think, needs to get better at lighting fires, but other than that, he's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I think he likes that job he has, that the grilling, and taking photographs.
If Patrick, if that's all he's gonna do, I'm gonna be fine with it because he's great at both.
But that's what I mean. It's like there's multiple things that can happen during an event, during like a pour event, like
like everybody has a part.
It has a part. And when we first started, it was like all hands on deck because we needed to go get backfill, right?
Yeah.
So the truck would get cover like 3 multiple trips of backfill for it, and then at the same time, it's like we got to get concrete, so we all go and get concrete and come back, and then we get started.
Yeah.
Things have become differently now. Like now, it's just like we have a ton of backfill, right?
Or we're
now
like without it,
right?
Well,
yeah, and so now it's been like, okay, now all the hands that we needed before, we don't really need as much, but they still come and hang out, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's moral support, and if we need something that people show up. When you showed up, you're like, I feel bad. Like Shane's. And I have the same feeling, like Shane's like by himself, like and that's a lot of labor, right?
Yeah,
Finishing.
it's a lot of labor.
And then I talked to him. He's like, "Yeah, man, it's just like one man working for 4 people drinking a beer." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
It was like that.
Well, I think
It
it's
was
also another thing is there may be like some people may be a little intimidated to work alongside.
Oh,
Shane
don't
because,
give him any excuses.
Because I mean, the man is a master.
Yeah,
What he does.
Very concentrated too.
Right.
Very
when I was working
concentrated.
with him, I'm just like, I don't know if I'm doing this right, but
Let's put some concrete here. Yeah.
I went up to him when he was finishing in the top of the snake, and I said, "What's up, man? How many people do you want? Do you have like 10 people over here?" He's like, "Nah, bro, I got this." And I'm like, "Go." I get it. You want shit done right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some things he takes pride on it.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But that's also like that's why I think that scaling down the number of people that can come up like 1 week, a week at a time, depending on what we have to accomplish. Like if we're gonna do a big ass pour, that was gonna be like we're gonna cover up like a whole other section. Then we're gonna need all hands on deck.
Yeah, and we're not. The cool thing is now that we have this idea of how this is moving along, it's going to be winter soon. like another
Right.
couple
Yeah.
of weeks, and it is going to be freezing out there. And I think we're pretty much done for the season.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we've got all the winter months to kind of plot ahead and like apply all these things we learned, and actually maybe start coming up with drawings for what we'd like
Yeah.
to see. And then that way, when we do begin again for the new season, we'll be able to start with something like, solid and well fleshed out and designed, and almost like, because the other thing that has happened is as we pour features, it's actually getting faster and faster. It's
Just people are more accustomed to the flow, right?
and there's,
And
the
people
flow,
are learning
there's a
the
process
craft.
that,
Yeah.
and like a rhythm that you get into, and because whereas before it was like to pour a 6-foot bank to curb would have taken like an entire day, and now it'll take us like 4 hours
Right.
to do the same exact
Nice.
thing.
Nice.
I mean, the last time we poured the top of the snake, and we did the side of the quarter too, like in one day. So, I mean, that was a lot.
Yeah. So I did want to transition to Mike to let us know about, because I had heard that you go out of your way and fix like certain kinks at skate parks.
So,
like I heard you're like Burnham's
I
like
do.
handyman, where you like
kinda
fix
am, but
things.
not-
So tell
so-
us about that.
It's that it's something that I started doing. It's not anything that I can even like really point at and take prideful credit for, because I haven't really done it all that much yet. But what I started doing a few years ago is, I started driving around to various skate parks. And Burnham, 31st Street, has got a very special place in my heart. That's one of my favorite parks to go to, regardless of, all the other new, more modern parks around. And I started looking at things, and I started going, wow, this place would be 100% better if this was patched or if this crack was covered up or something. So I just started loading supplies in my car, and it kind of snowballed. I ended up buying a generator so I could bring like a grinder in there and actually like start to smooth the
Yeah.
concrete in the bowl. But I just do a little patch up maintenance when I can.
Yeah.
It hasn't been like a project. I'm hoping to maybe I'll have more leisure time available to me in the coming year, that I'll be able to pick that up some more. But I'm not the only one. It's interesting. There's Steve Badgett, who lives down in Hyde Park, who is the builder of
Simpark.
which was a wooden bowl art installation that was at the Hyde Park Art Center in 2000. And the bowl at 31st Street Park is actually supposed to be modeled after that. And the original bowl was actually a lot bigger, and they shrank it down for 31st. But Steve was actually also going there and doing some work, and he like replaced the drain in the kidney
he did?
bowl. Yeah, he did. He built like a 2x4 frame that fell into there, and he screwed it was very. He screwed a street sign to it, so it was just like covered up. I actually found that exact drain at Menards and replaced it. And I have Steve Badgett's thing that he built.
That's an art piece. You better hold on to it.
It absolutely is. It's sitting in my garage.
You're hanging on the wall.
It's.
I was like, the Simpark Bowl is in San Francisco's Supreme.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah.
legendary.
Don't sell that.
I mean, that guy's been in Documenta. It's been like,
Really?
yes.
Whoa. You have a valuable piece right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like right now in my bag I have a rub brick and some plumber's putty that I used to fix like cracks and
Yeah,
ledges and
you're
stuff.
ready.
I'm just ready. If someone's not 100% skatable, I'll make it.
Yeah.
Make it
Yeah.
skatable. So
Sure.
The long term is that I want to see Burnham improved. I see a lot of potential there that's like hidden away in that park. That just needs some time and effort, and if it's whether it's going to be the city that takes on that effort, or if it's just going to be individuals that go there, it needs to happen. Let's see who does it first.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that you're taking a really great initiative to get that started and rolling, and I think people are like looking up to you. Because I was really impressed when I heard about this like
Oh, wow.
independent project that you were doing,
Right,
and I think like as someone like me who just started skating recently, like every day, like those would be really great lessons to learn and to apply that at like my local or like at any other skate park that I skate. Like I don't like that I want to repatch something or do something about it. Yeah, like we need to stop depending on other people or like companies and corporations to, or the city itself to
and
get
wait
things.
for how long while it goes through the paperwork process.
Yeah.
You know, when we can just fix it now.
Right. So just to transition, I did want to know about your skate stories, like how you started skating. Why is it that because a lot of people like skate and then they stop, right? Like I'm sure that there's a lot of friends that you have that just like don't skate anymore at all.
Yeah.
So what is like the drive that allows you to keep skating at this day and age? And why do you still love it, right? Like after so many years?
I like the sound of it.
Yeah? Okay.
I really enjoy the sound of wheels going down pavement.
I never thought, yeah.
I don't know why I always liked it, but you know, my love of skateboarding has been since I was I think like 9 or 10 years old. I was a little kid in Mexico, and my dad came back from Texas and dropped off this new toy he found, you know, on my bed. It's like, I got you something.
Yeah.
Not knowing how much I was gonna get into it, not knowing that it was gonna be like a thing that like guide my attention for years up till now, right? That it was one of those things like he was like, oh, this is the new coolest thing, you know. It's like early '80s, late '70s, you know, like early '80s. Here's a skateboard, you know. It's all the rage in the United States or whatever. And I remember like going down to the plaza in my hometown of Mexico and like rolling around with this thing that barely knew how to skate it and rolling it. And ever since then, you know, once we moved to the United States, I didn't have a skateboard. I've forgotten all about skateboarding until I saw one of my neighbors roll down a big board. It was like a Nash Executioner. Right? Mike's laughing because he knows what I'm talking about.
Toy store board.
It's a toy store board. It's like a big, wide board. They have like, I forgot the animal on it, but I come to find out a lot of people started on that board, right? So, you know, it's like, oh well, you know, it's like I know how to ride one of those, so I started riding. Like he'll let me him his board, and then I started getting into it again. At that point, I went and got my own Nash Executioner. Right, because I couldn't escape my friends, so that's how I started back in skateboarding. And after that, like, you know, that led to another, and you know, by that point, I was like fully immersed in skateboarding, and I love the tricks. I love what it did for me, you know, like because Chicago was very stifling when I got here. Like, I come from like a big sky space, you know, and Chicago was always like kind of like compressed me. Like to what I could do. When I got into skateboarding, I really started finding out that, you know, for one, I had friends, lots of friends, right? And also that the friends that I had who had the same thing in common as that I did, that we couldn't be bound to the area. Like, let's get on the train. Let's go down to Belmont. Let's go downtown. Let's go down to Oak Street Beach. All of a sudden, it's just like the city became, like I said, it's just like a landscape. I was just like, whoa, shit, I can go anywhere. And then skateboarding became even more, and I got really into it, you know. And by that time, it was like the early '90s, and I got really into it. Then it was like, let's go on a skate strip here, let's go on a skate strip there, and it's like skateboarding was like all, you know, and it's still part of what I am, what I do now. I mean, it's like skateboarding. It's like I can't stop doing it.
Yeah.
Even if I can't do tricks anymore, like that I used to be able to do, I still like love riding around the skateboard. I love the way it feels. I love bombing hills, right? I like going fast. I like the way that puts me in control, and also puts me to mercy too, because I could die.
That adrenaline rush. So you're like,
well, it's not. I guess it's an adrenaline rush. Yes, but it's
control over your own fate.
Yeah, it's like it's so much fun though.
Yeah.
It's truly fun, you know, and that's what keeps me going on it. I haven't lost the affection of how much fun it can be, right? It's almost like liberating. Like some days it's just like, you know, when I would be in the studio and I'd be like, I'm kind of, you know, congested with things. I need a break. I'll go skateboarding and everything would disappear. All my anxiety will be gone, right? I'll be like, oh, all I got to do is do a wall ride and I'll feel better.
Yeah.
Right? Or like do a fast grind, I'll do better. Or like whatever. You know, it's like any movement within the skateboard and control of that sort of it feels so damn good.
Yeah.
Right? And that is like that's why it's still part of my there's nothing like it for me. You know, I haven't found anything that can replace it. So
thanks for sharing. I'm thinking about like for me it gives me a sense of freedom, right?
Yeah.
And like it's something that you can control. Like there's other variables of things in life that you can't control, but when you're on your board, you're able to control like the tricks that you do and like how you're feeling.
Well, yeah, I mean it's just like, and even like maneuvering is always this. I mean, getting around the city is like, you know, like I come from an area where there were no skate parks, right? I'm not from California. I'm not from Texas. There was no skate parks in Chicago, right, in the city. So for me, it was like street skating, right? It was a form of transportation, and it's a way to get around, and it was also a way to like, you know, show off like how comfortable you got on the board, like the level of confidence, like doing big ollies, like, you know, like doing stupid things like big stair sets and gaps or whatever, and rails just like dominating the city was like super exhilarating. Right? Like, there was no obstacle that can stop you. That's what I'm still very fond of street skating.
Yeah.
You know, although I think it's a lot harder than a lot of other types of skating because it requires a lot more imagination. You know, like, maybe I'm gonna get some, you know, backlash on that one, but, you know, I think it just makes you more fully aware of what your potentials are. You're constantly looking for that challenge that exists already that is not meant to be skated.
Yeah, to give the problem solving away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, and that part of it is still very, very pronounced. Like, you know, skate parks, it could be designed by skaters all the time, but it's like, you telling me what I can do on this, right? But not necessarily telling me what I can do, but it's built for skateboarding. When stuff is not, it's like so much more fun because it is problem solving.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing the potential of something that is not meant to be there.
Right.
Right? That's really cool.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I mean, Juan nailed it. You know, in terms of it's the sense of freedom is what it was for me. I started. It's funny. I think we can peg like the official start date is the year that you get your first real board, right?
Yeah.
So it was '86 for me. I got a Santa Cruz board. So prior to
I had
that,
a Sims.
I had, prior to that though, my non-real board was a Volterra.
Oh.
So, she knows what that is.
I gotta look these up afterwards.
Yeah, you gotta look.
So that was pre-86. Post-86, real board comes along. I'm a kid in the suburbs, and this thing is just landed in my lap, and it makes me want to explore. And I ended up all over the place, you know, and I met people like in the late 80s, early 90s. I'd started coming downtown on the CTA was 75 cents if you were under 13 years old at that time. And we just started taking the train downtown. It was like, it like opens up this desire to see new places and find new things. And that was always like the most important thing for me. It was just meeting new people, finding new things to skate, and you're just constantly exploring. And I think it's been with me. It's been the only thing that's one of the very few things that has been a constant in my life. It was always there. I could always lean on skateboarding. It was like, it sounds cliche, but you know, there's a cliche thing about skateboarding saved my life. I think there's some truth to that.
There's a lot of truth to that.
And
for a lot of people.
So now, after 35 some odd years of doing it, you know, you start to look back and you start thinking, I always think about what Jake Phelps, the late editor of Thrasher, said. Again, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have this memorized, but it was something to the effect of, skateboarding owes you nothing. If anything, you owe skateboarding. So now I'm like, well, yeah, I probably do at some point, because I've been using it to emotionally and spiritually support myself all these years. I want to give something back now. You know, so it's like
I sacrificed a lot for skating.
What's that?
No, I sacrificed a lot for skating.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely, there's a number of people that actually, like, over the years that I look back, I'm just like, these are the absolute pillars of the skate community in Chicago. Juan is one of those people. God, I just opened myself up to start name dropping. I don't want to do that because I'll be here forever. You know, everybody at Uprise, and it's like, there's just all these people I've always looked up to for all these years. You know, that I've been fortunate enough to meet through this stupid little four-wheeled toy. And now it's like, oh, here's this opportunity to actually give back somehow, to actually make something for the skate community.
Has it been difficult to keep skateboarding in your life? Because like for me, like I get older and like I have very limited free time, right? And so like I know that I love skateboarding, and so I put it in my schedule and I make sure that I take time to practice it because I love it so much. But I think like as you get older and you get more responsibilities, like does it become harder?
It has become harder. I mean, I have a family. I have a studio practice and our practice out too. Abide to, and you know, but that doesn't stop me. Even if I don't skate every day anymore, like, you know, I kind of gave up on skating every day. Like that's not a thing anymore.
So there was a point where you're like every day.
I mean, there was a point that's like, you know, I had to skate every day at least, you know. But then again, you know, it's like if you think about it, from skating, from being really involved, like I could spend 12 hours skating.
A day,
easily, right? Yeah. There was no second guessing it, right? And then it became like, oh, you need to have a job so you can skate.
Yeah.
Right? So I would have a job so I could skate. So the jobs were like 6-8 hours, right? And then the rest of my time was skateboarding. I don't think I ever slept, right? I mean, but that was like, but then it's like, you know, other responsibilities that are equally important as skating started taking over. Like, you know, my art practice started happening. So like, you know, that sort of took over a little bit, like, oh, I can't go skate because I got this thing to do, right? And then, oh, now I'm in a relationship, right? I mean, I can't diss this person anymore like I used to diss all the others because, you know, I wanted to go skate. I kind of like this person, right? So like that started like taking over, and then my skateboarding started dwindling down, but it's never like
you never fully stopped.
You never fully stopped. Even if I don't like skate for a week or 2 weeks, like I'm ready to go. Yeah. Like as soon as like if I see like if I feel it, or someone calls me, it's like, hey, we're going to the marsh, or we're going to hit up this spot. You want to come? I'm like, I'm in the car. I'm gone, right? Or like, if it's nearby, I'm there. Like, whatever, because it's still like that important to me, right? I can make time for it. I mean, when I turned 50, my whole goal of the entire day was to spend 12 hours skating. Right, that was the whole day. That's why I wanted one day of skating like no other. Like I spent 12 hours doing artwork. I spent 12 hours with my family. I spent 12 hours, you know, in my house all the time. Like I wanted to spend 12 hours skateboarding, right? And that was like the best. I mean, I remember like I packed up my bike. I put my backpack. I put a 12-pack of beer, a full-on sandwich, right?
Ready, no stopping.
No stopping. I'm gonna like put my bike. I'm gonna ride the bike path. I'm gonna put my board in the bag, you know, and like I'm gonna start with Burnham, and I'm gonna make it all the way up to wherever I can go, and like just skate the whole day long, like, you know, just have a good time, right? Like those are the kind of things that I love to do. When I, you know, one of the things that I used to love skating when I started skating a lot, I used to love long distance skating, like mission skating. Like we used to start out from I moved to Pilsen in the mid 90s, and my friend Dave and I, and then we used to go from our apartment on 18th and May to downtown, right? Because we're like, you either take the bus or you can skate it. Yeah. So we're like, we'll skate it. Yeah. First things you got to ollie the train tracks, right? So we ollie the train tracks, and then we keep going, and then we have to go to through Maxwell Street, and don't get chased by dogs. Don't get caught by the dogs that are chasing you. Then we're gonna hit the UIC bank, right? And then head into downtown. Once you're like in Greektown, you're like, well, I'm downtown. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So like, and then from then on, we just like go here to Sears Tower banks, and you know, and yellow curve, and then go be in downtown and scumbags. Next thing you know, like we waking up, 6 in the morning at Oak Street Beach.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
I think that's amazing because you're like, as you're talking, you're kind of like mapping out all these spots on your way to like the loop, and I think that's amazing that now in your brain, like you've like mapped out like all the skatable spots in the city on your way. I don't know. Yeah, I think about that a lot.
Yeah, it's
skateboarding definitely gives you a unique perspective of the city. Yeah, it's we view it from a completely different lens than like a lot of other people.
Yeah. So what about you? Have you sacrificed anything for skateboarding?
I mean, so at my age, 30 something.
You're not 30 something.
I'm 48 next month. I don't get I don't get blocks of time to commit to skateboarding anymore. That's just not happening. I'll squeeze in like a half hour.
You're constantly skating.
Yeah, you're constantly skating. Like I would see you at Wolfram like every Sunday or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but my main days, and I got to give a shout out to Kenny Sadler here. I skate with the old crew, the old dudes that we drive around to the various parks, and it was always a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Right. I joined you.
You're one of those crews. Yeah.
So. I guess, like I took my Sunday skate days and just said, you know what, these are going to be build days because that's what we agreed to do Sundays now. So it's like, that's been the bulk of what I've been doing on the days that I used to skate. But that was, I still would love to set aside like an entire day and just recreate that, even for just a moment, the time where it was like you took breaks from skateboarding to do other stuff, because that was the central thing. Right. And now it's no longer the central thing. Now it's like, a house and a mortgage and car payments and house that's falling apart and whatnot, and then trying to squeeze in skateboarding outside of that.
Yeah.
So, but it never leaves you. It will always haunt you, and that's why you want to make time.
Even I know a lot of people that stop skating, but they never stop hanging around the people they still skate. It's like there's something about it, like this, like the connections that were formed, the relationships that were formed through skateboarding. They're so solid to this day. I mean, for me, they are. Like it's like my friend Serge. He used to be an amazing skater. He doesn't skate at all, but he still buys boards. Like I don't get.
He just hangs them up.
He puts them together, and then they're sitting there right there. So like he doesn't skate, but he'll have a board ready.
Yeah.
Right, like in case something happens.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that do that. Like they're like even though like life has changed so much, there's also like a physical like I'm sorry, I'm in Spanish. Like
say it in Spanish.
Entregándose, like that that there's a level of commitment that comes to skateboarding, right? That you would never be able to get off your back. It's like,
and once you're committed because you know all of the work that needs to be put in to get to this one trick, but once you have it, you got it.
Yeah.
And it becomes addicting.
One of the things that with skateboarding that's always been addicted to me.
Yeah.
It's when you get really comfortable and you get really good, and then skateboarding gods make you fall really hard.
Skateboarding gods.
And there's nothing that skate school can ever teach you. It's it's when you're gonna eat it, you're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
Right. And you never know when you're gonna eat it.
No.
Right. But the hardest thing is getting back on it, and that has been really addictive to me. Like now, like, oh no, you didn't.
No, you didn't, skate god.
Oh no, skate god. No, I owe you something. I paid enough.
Yeah.
You gotta get back up.
You gotta get back up.
And right? I think once you start like falling and you're just like getting used to falling, getting back up, it just becomes like nothing.
Yeah, I always found out that it's like when you got really comfortable, like when you're really comfortable at like, I got this, and
Yeah.
confident, right? Like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
That's when you're gonna eat it the hardest,
Mm.
and you're gonna eat it in like the stupidest trick.
Yeah. Yeah. I have had those tricks where I'm like, I have this, but then no, you just fall. Somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I wanted to loop back around because I know we're really short on time, but what are your goals for the DIY space in 2023? Or what are your skate goals, individual goals for the next year?
Like in general, the skate goals?
Yeah, skate goals or DIY goals?
Skate more often and build that DIY more fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, there's so many things. The goals for the DIY is to really get it completed. Like,
Whatever complete is.
Well, complete is meaning like finish out the other side.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think it's always going to be evolving?
At one point it won't, right? At one point it's going to be like, it's done, right?
Okay.
But from here to next year, I think next year, 2023, spring to summer, weather permitting, like, right, we're gonna keep pushing forward. There's ideas already like being generated on what needs to be in that spot, but nothing that's been solidified.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things I told like is the fire hole remakes. I also want to been talking about doing a volcano in the center.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that like keep going back and forth, like in my mind, like it's like there's if you ever been to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, like in the downtown, the court of the
What do they have?
what's it, courthouse plaza. There's this giant brick like swoop wall ride. It's super hard to skate, right? But it was like always like that thing is super cool, right? So can we do one of those? I don't know. We did a little one in the same idea, the back end of that.
The
corner.
one that you were working on.
Yeah, and that thing is like whoa.
Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah, I've seen Mike trying to skate that. I'm like, I don't know.
I got in a couple of kick turns on it,
Ooh.
but
Yeah.
the quarter is a lot of fun, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a slasher.
It's a slasher, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually not as difficult to hit as you think
No,
when
it's
you're
just a
looking at
slasher.
it.
It kind of gives you.
That one in the back, yeah.
It gives you a good
Launch
a good
view, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
I think a goal for me for the DIY, well, for skateboarding is just to keep skating.
Yeah.
I feel blessed every day that I'm still able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the spot, it's I think a lot of us are kind of like on pins and needles right now because the goal is to make it grow into something that is
Right.
permanent to the community and that the community feels like it belongs to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's just to see like a multi-use space I've lived in the neighborhood for a few years now, like going 8 years, and it's that stretch of road was just nothing. It was dead. It was nobody would come out. You never see people walking down the street. There's a lot more pedestrians now. There's a lot more people like using.
And you'll have like a garden space in the front
public
too.
spaces,
Yeah.
I'm amazed that we went this far without even bringing that up. The garden stuff is amazing. There's Zach and Adelaide and a number of people put a lot of effort into that, and it's like it's not just the skateboarding,
Right.
it's like the whole. What is the bigger picture of what this thing is?
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to set it aside and hopefully save it. I mean, I got a lot of people walking by and they're like, "But thank you for doing this. This is what we need. As long as we can keep the neighborhood like folks happy, right? There's certain things we want to keep down, right? Like be respectful to the neighbors, right? If you go there, this unwritten rules that unless you're a complete like. Jag off, you're gonna blow them off, right? Like, don't skate there past like dark, right? Like the neighbors, we're between two residential buildings. Neighbors hang out in the backyard all the time, like with that comes like some level of respect for them that you need to have with it, right? And so that's super important to maintain in whatever is possible. Like, if don't use it as your couch, right? Like don't go there and pull out the bong, right? All that shit is legal. Like you know, like you can bring a couple of joints, that's fine, but don't start rolling your weed, right? You know, because it's not that I care.
Be mindful.
It's just mindful of others, right?
Of others.
And if you need to use the bathroom, like you know, you gotta force it out. You go to the gas station,
on the corner.
whatever. Because there is no bathrooms there,
Yeah.
right? Like, and we don't want to piss off the neighbors, so
Right,
it's really
right,
important.
right.
It's really
Just
important.
ask everybody to treat that place as if it was something that you live next to.
Right.
How would you
Yeah.
want people to behave there? You know, it's something. It is something very special.
Right.
It's very unique to the city. It's unique to skateboarding in the city, and we can't. You know, we want everybody that goes there to appreciate that.
Right.
So,
You know, if you drink beer, take the cans with you.
yeah,
Right.
clean up after yourself.
Yeah.
We haven't.
Right.
There hasn't really been much of that, though. You know.
Well, the people have been
It's-
mindful of that.
Yeah.
And the other rule that we need to say, it's like no rollerblading.
Really? You serious about that? Why is that?
Why is that?
Yeah.
Because you know, rollerbladers, not roller skaters. Don't get me
So
confused.
rollerbladers
Whereas
are
the
the ones with the straight line.
yeah.
Okay. Why
They-
no inline?
One's got a history.
I gotta,
Wait, what? Tell, you
yeah,
you don't have to tell
I'm
us,
really,
tell
I'm
us.
really prejudiced
Okay.
about that. You know, and this comes,
I'm gonna show up with my inlines.
yeah, well,
I'm just kidding.
what, really? I think you're sealing the
I
deal
have
for
some,
yourself.
No, I have some, but I mean, I don't think that's even a space that I would feel comfortable doing inline.
No,
Like,
the
you
reason.
just want,
Here's the
like-
reason. Here's the reason, right? Like, and this goes back to like me skating downtown and being territorial,
okay, so
right?
It's, okay.
Is that everything? Like we fought for spots.
Yeah,
Right?
that make okay. Yes, I
We
get where
fought
you're
for
going with
spots. We laid all the ground. We did all the hard work
Yeah.
for spots, right? We made it comfortable. We created relationships. We did it like
Yeah.
we worked hard,
this.
right, for the spot.
You mean we as like
Skateboarders,
Yes.
skateboarders, right? Like we did all of that,
Yeah.
right? We invented tricks, right?
Yeah.
You have not.
No, there was. Yeah.
I don't
And-
know.
and-
I've seen some crazy inline tricks.
I'm not saying that I haven't. I'm not
I know what you
disrespecting them.
mean,
I'm
I
just
know
not
what you mean.
disrespecting them.
Yeah,
I'm just
you-
saying in this spot
Yeah. Skateboarding only.
only,
That
right?
makes
Roller
sense.
skates, cool.
Okay.
No,
Rollerblades.
no,
No inline.
no
It
inline.
almost seems like there should be like specific.
Right, and
Y'all
I'm
should,
and,
y'all should have a sign.
Yeah.
yeah.
We haven't
No
voted on
inline.
this. So.
And the only
No, it's
and
interesting
the
to
only
hear the
trick
perspective,
that I want
though.
that we all want you to learn at the 35th DIY, right?
Uh-huh.
It's a 1 foot ollie north.
You did
Right.
mention yeah,
you have
be
to
adamant about
master
this.
it. I'm relearning them.
Did you ask everybody in your crew to do
Everybody's
these
gotta
tricks?
learn
Is this like
it.
the
Everybody's got
initiation?
to. Yes,
Initiation.
you got to do it now.
Okay, I gotta practice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super easy trick. It's awesome, and it makes you look so much cooler than anything in life.
Okay, I'll keep
Especially
that
if
in
you
mind.
float it.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. So okay,
gonna
no
show-
inline. Okay, I mean I see your point. It's pretty valid. Like you make good points. Last
It's
final
pretty valid.
question. It's pretty valid. Okay, you invented those tricks.
I fully realize like, how ridiculous that sounds
It does
coming
sound
from me.
ridiculous, but
you know,
okay.
it is.
It's
But it's
easy.
your part.
One has to have one. He's entitled.
I am
to
a
one
fascist.
grumpy old man.
Grumpy old
characteristic,
skater.
You know, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly,
just don't think.
I
it's-
like they don't bother me.
Yeah. Do you want us to cut this out?
No.
Okay.
What do you think? Like people are gonna like I'm gonna get canceled? Like okay.
The inline skaters are gonna go after you.
There-
Oh yeah.
There was a point where there was a very
Now I just
active and sometimes even violent rivalry between two camps, but nobody under a certain age would recognize that time. So-
now what I just did is that if this rollerbladers are gonna go skating more now because I said no rollerblading.
Yeah.
You think they are?
Yeah, they're gonna spite.
If they're watching this,
Spike
yes.
Well, the thing is,
They're like
I
that
feel
Jake.
Don't overplay.
I think that there isn't a big like inline skate community in Chicago. I haven't seen that many. Like I've seen like the roller skates, the quads. I've
Yeah.
seen folks you shredding like the
Well, that's-
Cicero Bowl.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
see, it's like, that's fine.
Yeah. So you don't gotta worry about it because I don't think there's a lot of inline skaters. Don't worry about
Skate gods, please.
it. So
Drop the bomb on them.
final question to close off. Why do you skate? And what makes you truly happy in life?
Oh boy.
Wait.
How long are we?
Look, I think you already asked why do we skate, right?
Usually ask
I
once you
asked,
started skating.
did I? Well, in final like words,
Final
why
thoughts.
do you skate? Yeah.
Because
Why?
it's there.
Why?
Because
Like
it
in like
is.
one sentence or like one word answer. And then what makes you truly happy in life?
Well, I skate because it's fun.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. You know? It's the funnest thing I've ever made. I ever had. You know, like the funnest endeavor ever. Like I can just, like I said, if I have the responsibilities that I have in life, I would disappear into skateboarding world again. Right? And
Yeah.
then I'll be very happy. Right? What makes me happy in life? Being able to do those simple things that I'm able to do in my life, that I'm able to maintain. That's what makes me happy. Right? I'm able to maintain my career, I'm able to maintain my family, and I'm able to maintain my life in skateboarding and all the other things in my interests.
I skate seriously because it's there. I really have no idea why I skate. I never really asked myself that. I think at this point I'm almost afraid to find out. You
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna keep doing it. It's always been with me. It's part of what makes me happy. I think the thing that makes me most happy at present is goes back to the DIY. I love showing up at the DIY and just seeing people enjoying it and just having just a genuinely good time there, and just knowing that that's the kind of like part of your legacy that you're sort of passing on, is you built this weird, cool, fun thing for other people, and it makes them very happy, at least for that moment that they're there, and in turn that makes me incredibly happy to see that. So
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did feel really happy when I was there. Like I
Good.
felt the joy. I felt the joy. I felt the community. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
times.
Yeah. Good times. Well, thanks for coming out on this
No
crazy weather.
Thank you.
Calm down
for
a bit,
having
Yeah,
me.
Yeah.
thank you for having us.
Yes.
And, shouts out to all the good folks in skateboarding out there.
Yes.
You know, I don't know Prosper, but Prosper, I will visit you soon.
Yes.
Right? Shouts out to Uprise, my homies forever. All the skaters that I've met, you know, through the DIY. Shouts out to them, right? To our boy Reggie, you know, like who's all out there, like, you know, floating around above us, watching over us in skateboarding, right? You know, and to one of the people that really got me going in skateboarding from the beginning was Stevie Dread. I know you're not listening, but I know you probably will, right? And you're gonna start hitting me up as soon as you hear me say that.
Oh, yeah.
So Stevie Dread, you know, right on.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, and to
Enjoy
those great
it.
influences.
All right. Keep shredding, y'all.
Yeah.